Good morning, YouTube. As you can see from the thumbnail, we're doing something different in the great state of Texas today. We're making a tiered display. So a friend of mine sells bath bombs, and she goes to like trade shows and to like farmers markets and things. She wanted me to make this like wooden display that she saw on the internet. I have never made anything like this before in my career, so I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. So the photo she sent to me was pretty intricate, and I was like, look, I'm going to do this for free because I have no idea what I'm doing. So basically I'm cheating a lot for this. So all I did was go get a wooden, already done up circle board that's for like a miniature table. Got these legs from Hobby Lobby and decided, hey, this is like a good foundation. So I had to put some steel epoxy on the bottom of it only because everything was kind of uneven and wonky. I don't have the tools to do exact circle cuts. I still haven't gotten into ironworks at all, and basically I'm just cheating along the way. So for some reason, I think hot glue is the cure for basically everything. So everything was screwed in nice and neat with the legs, but I was like, you know what? You can never have too much, glue. So for the pillars, I decided, okay, I don't have the material to really make anything intricate, and I need a lot of support because those other tables are very heavy. So all I did was take this 2x2 squares, and I'm just going to stack them up, just going over to the table saw and getting everything cut down exactly the way I need it prior to the glue up, as you'll see here in a little bit. And before we did that, all we did was just take it over to the sander, just getting all the nice edges nice and completed before we started any other portion of the project. And this part was actually pretty fun, didn't take a lot of time, but I just wanted to make sure it was as neat as possible because when you're making something for somebody, you just, I don't know, you put a little oomph into the work. So I just wanted this to look as neat as possible, even though it was a very, very basic. So we're going to make sure that it's sturdy. So I'm essentially just making a giant block, and there's the glue gun again, can't get away from it. So we're going to drill pilot holes, put in a screw, and use hot glue all at the same time. And we're going to do this like switch-watch, like switching back and forth type of, material or area. And you can see there I cracked the wood already on accident. So we're just going to stack this up back and forth, stack it up back and forth, and just basically try to make this as secure as possible because these tables are super heavy. And this is the last one that I put in. We're basically doing this for all of the tiers all the way up into the end. So got that last portion on there, and we're going to take one more screw, do a pilot hole, and then we'll be done with this particular pillar. And I just went ahead and repeated this for each and every one of them. Didn't change anything up. So the process is essentially the same. And it kind of looks cool, this, pattern that we have built here. And my Ryobi died on me. I just had to recharge battery, so that's why I'm using this cordless one. So there it is, all done, nice and neat. I'm thinking, okay, not too bad, not too bad. So now the hard part comes, this small little platform, and now I have to figure out somehow to put the pillar on. So we're just going to drill a little hole in there, and then we're going to take large deck screws and mount that to the actual pillar itself. And that was a little bit tricky, trying to find the center of it. I already centered it beforehand. And again, this is a pre-cut out circle on the bottom. I should have maybe used a stronger base, but when I went to Hobby Lobby, they only had 3 legs, and I was like, sure, 3 points of contact, just like the military, shouldn't be a problem. So once we got that done, came back, hit it again with the hot glue gun. Hot glue works. I don't care what anybody says. It works. I use it for my epoxy projects, mounting on the lathe, so this should work in theory. But we're reinforcing it with screws, so it's fine. Make sure everything is nice and level. It is. Boom, that's done. So then we just flipped it over, and we're going to take these large deck screws and just screw them in. Womp, one more. Womp, 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 womp. It's touch and go. But there it is. There's the first level pillar ready to go. And essentially all I did was take a larger, obviously this is pre-packaged, prefabricated. I cheated absolutely 100%. Again, I don't have the tools to make these perfect circles, and this is for a friend of mine, so I just wanted it to look as good as possible. Even though some assembly is required here, this is basically just IKEA furniture that I'm making here. But it's the thought that counts, people. Don't worry, we'll get to the better part a little bit later. So then once I got that centered, I came back, hit it with the glue gun again, get that on top, And now we're just centering the second pillar on there, getting everything nice leveled where we need it to be, and drilling another pilot hole. And you'll see here in a little bit, I have a little bit of an issue because I need everything on good attached strong points. So got this portion locked in. So this one is hooked up to this one is hooked up to that one. So bam, make sure everything is leveled. The camera's wonky, that's why it looks that way. And you can see, boom, we were right on it. So this was a little bit more tricky. So the other pillar I had to, because I couldn't come in from the bottom, so I was like, okay, we're just going to have to drill in diagonally. And this gave me a little bit of a problem because not everything worked out exactly how I wanted it to. And you can see there that I'm having, I'm on the struggle bus with it. But I was like, okay, we're going to have to come at with a different approach. So what I did was put this upside down. And instead of coming from the top down, I went from the bottom up. And this gave me a little bit better angle on it, and I was able to get it done. This looks like I just basically took this and put it in the trash, which no, that's not how it happened. But now that it's completely attached, it works out a little bit better. So then once we got that done, now we're just working on to the last tier and basically reversing it, doing the exact same thing. Nothing too complicated here. And bam, hitting it with the hot glue because I can't stay away from it. Bam. This is my equivalent of duct tape, essentially. It's hilarious. So there it is, all done nice and neat. And now we're just putting in that last pilot hole on the top. And our display is nearly done. Actually, it's not even close to done because now the hard part with the epoxy comes in there. And there it is. So essentially it's built. So now I tried to come back and she just wanted something wooden, but I wanted to put something extra on it. And I was like, you know what we can do? Epoxy. So her favorite colors are black, white, and pink. She wanted something like that. And I was like, okay, I've seen enough like epoxy setups on, YouTube channels. I can totally do something like this. And what I didn't take into account was the table was a little bit uneven, a little bit wonky, and you're about to see all the epoxy kind of just pour over. So I had to do several pours like that on each layer, and I had to get a base layer. You can see everything rushing to the other side, and I was like, no, it's uneven. Even though the level said it was even, I guess maybe it wasn't as even as I thought. So that became a total mess, and then I just came back and hit it with some sparkle. And I'm trying to salvage this. I'm like, oh my God. What I didn't figure out was that the epoxy was so thin and it wasn't as dark pigmented as I needed it to be. So it didn't come out the way I wanted to. So off camera, you guys didn't see the entire epoxy setup. But I had to come back, hit it with several layers. And all I'm doing here is, this is a prefabricated K that her name is Katie. So I thought it would be cool. So she can kind of say, hey, this is Katie's display. So just put a K on top. This is some hot pink. This is a really cool color, by the way. The camera really doesn't do it justice. But essentially what I had to do for the epoxy was do several different layers of it and then come back once the epoxy dried and add another layer. So this is what it was at the bottom. You can see where I did it on the sheet there. And now I'm just cutting off all this excess epoxy that totally messed up the initial fabrication. So had to come back. All this good epoxy wasted. But you'll see here in a little bit, once you put several layers down, it actually came out really good. But the bad news is this thing is super duper heavy. So once the epoxy all dried, then I had to come back, get the sander, because it had these like small little beads that were on the edges, which I didn't really like. And I wanted it to look, again, as professional as humanly possible, since this was the first display that I practically have ever built. Actually, this is the first display I've ever built. So all I'm doing here is just taking the sander, getting those finer edges off, trying to make it look really presentable. Because when you're, like I said, you want it to look as good as you possibly can. So here we are at the end. I had to come back and hit it with several different layers, putting the K on top, and now we're all done. And you can see the different layers of epoxy, and then I got the look I wanted once I did several different layers of the epoxy. And it looks pretty damn good, in my opinion. She was really happy with it. You got this swirling type effect. You can see the glitter and everything in the sunlight. So she'll be able to put her bath bombs on there. And she said it was way bigger than what she needed, but she was really happy that it was this large because now she has the ability to expand. And I think it looks good. The small base, it's not as sturdy as it could be, but it's sturdy enough for what she needs it for. And there's the top portion of it, glistening in the sunlight. Looks really, really good. Really happy the way this turned out. It took me about 2 days to get this project done. So she was happy with it. I was happy with it. In the future, if I ever do something like this again, I'll know how to do it. Do the epoxy first and then assemble. But overall, I think the aesthetic of it looks really good. It is a little lopsided, I'll admit. But overall, I would say for the first attempt, it's not bad. So feel free to leave a comment. Hope you liked it. Hope you share it. All that good stuff. It looks pretty good right there. It's not as wonky, but I'll check you guys out in the next project when I see you guys. All right? So, peace.